How's everybody doing this beautiful Sunday afternoon?
Check it out.
MS, thank you for stopping by early on, hitting that notification, and leaving that comment. Looking forward to exploring that, sir. Just gonna wait for a few more viewers to jump in. Try to put the chapters in later so you guys can skip the irrelevant portions.
Yeah.
All right, that's a pretty good intro. Hope everybody's doing well. About a minute and a half in. Got a few viewers. Thank you guys for stopping by. As mentioned, MS, thank you so much for the comment. The comment being hard to believe warehouse jobs are being replaced. Hard to believe this because warehouse jobs are being replaced by robot forklifts, which is easy to understand since I was a forklift operator. Yeah, you make a really good point, and that's ultimately where it's going to lead. In fact, I would say that it would probably start from that section, but this was a question that's been on a lot of folks' mind about what happens when AI takes over, when computers take over, and the freight basically starts to flow through automated systems, get driven, delivered, et cetera, et cetera. So this and more we will explore today. So how's everybody doing? Let us know in the comment section. I will and will not be able to look at some of the stuff. I should be able to respond. Alex will not be joining us today, but definitely appreciate every single one of you guys utilizing some new features on YouTube and a few other platforms to see if it's something that will benefit us, like such as a notification about half hour in that we're going to do the show. So thank you guys for stopping in. So today we're going to cover 3 topics. I don't anticipate this to be a long show. We can certainly cover many questions you guys have. That's the purpose of this show. I've invited a whole bunch of people to stop by over the week, stop by this Sunday. We might have definitely some interesting comments jumping in today. So again, without further ado, let's jump in, guys. Hope everybody's having a great time. Right and Dirty says, hello from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Hey, I've been there. I've stayed there. What a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. Absolutely lovely. So definitely thank you for stopping by, and hello to you from Salt Lake City, Utah. Guys, let's jump in and let's take a look at some of these articles. They're all going to be tied in, as always. AFT Dispatch, A2C Logistics. There's our phone number, 801-448-6363. We handle truck dispatch if you're a carrier with your own MC, and we also handle leasing on owner-operators. You can get more info on our website at aftdispatch.com or call or text that number there. Today is August 4th. Yes, we are in August. And the first story I wanted to explore with you guys is C.H. Robinson. They're really shining in the stock market. Their performance and everything else that they're putting out there quarter after quarter is good, and better. C.H. Robinson shines in the second quarter, driving stock higher. Now, how does this affect you guys? Why does it even matter to you guys? Let's see, what is this here? Well, I'll tell you exactly what this is all about. There's a lot of companies out there that are really, really struggling at the moment. And when we're looking at the quarterlies that have begun to flood all the websites that are paying attention to these things, and you and I should be paying attention to these things as well, we're noticing a pattern of bad to worse, declines, lost revenue, contraction, job losses, all kinds of stuff. C.H. Robinson, on the other hand, is doing something different, doing something right, because what's coming through is really, really good. Their performance is incredible. And they made some changes. Their president CEO talks about it as well. So today we're going to cover some of this. C.H. Robinson has delivered a strong second quarter, exceeding expectations and boosting investor confidence. The company's new operating model, focused on efficiency and customer satisfaction, is showing positive results. Notably, the truckload segment has performed well with increased market share and profitability. These factors have contributed to a significant surge in the company's stock price. We'll talk about exactly which factors, and maybe you ought to consider doing it within your own organizations, whether it's just one truck and you're the driver, or large organizations with lots of company drivers, lease on owner operators. Here's what we got. A key component of C.H. Robinson's success is implementation of a divisional scorecard system. Now, this is something that their CEO talked about. And this is where I got the information, to be honest with you. So this system utilizes key metrics to track performance across various aspects of the business, including driving growth, meeting customer expectations, optimizing gross profit, controlling costs, managing talent, and improving cash flow. Now let's stop right here, guys. Aren't these things that we're all responsible for doing ourselves? Are these not the very things that we should be looking at within our business? Driving growth, meeting customer expectations, and then, some of my favorites, such as optimizing gross profit, controlling costs, managing talent, and improving cash flow. These are all things that are super, super important, and these are all things that every trucking company needs to keep in mind. Every company, every business needs to keep these things in mind. Because we're in the trucking industry, I will say this, I generally see people skip this stuff, and I think the reason for it is twofold. A, lack of knowledge, and two, most people find these things boring. But I promise you, once you have your finger on the pulse, you're going to be able to just check in with your company, update numbers, see where you're at, because a lot of stuff won't change. And the things that are in your control, you're going to be able to implement those changes within the business and then see that in your bottom line. That's what they're doing. Those are the areas that they looked at. Okay, so what he's saying is that by regularly reviewing these metrics, the company can identify areas for improvement and make necessary adjustments. This data-driven approach has been instrumental in driving a company's strong performance. Okay. Thank you guys for stopping by. Lots of comments here today. Hello, stuck in a small town in Nevada. No weekend tire service. No surprise there, especially in a Nevada small town. Well, driving Sue, I hope you're safe and out of the sun, found some shade for yourself there. Adam Buser, thank you for stopping by, sir. How you doing? Doing very, very well. Definitely, I think, going to be a better show. So thank you for stopping by. He also said that going on a cruise next month, I wonder, do truck docks right next to the ship versus a cargo ship at the port? Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Whether or not they're going to be using the same ports, right? Well, it depends where you're going and where you're coming from. So depends. You might be the case in Tacoma, in Washington. Might be the case. But I think the important thing here is Adam's taken some time off. Maybe last week's live had an effect on a few people. I'd love to know that that's the case. I'd love to hear that people decided to, were motivated, were moved to take some time off, get some R&R, clear their heads a little bit, and whatever that means for you, whether it's camping or going on a cruise or just going on a walk or maybe just clearing your head, doing some meditation or reading or whatever it is that you like to do. So yeah, and Roadrunner said, howdy, howdy. Well, Roadrunner, howdy, howdy back to you. So guys, here's what we got here. By regularly reviewing these metrics, the company can identify the areas that they basically need to make changes, make improvements, make necessary adjustments, right? Following the earnings release, this is really important. C.H. Robinson's stock price climbed to a peak of 104.36. Now that number's from today, okay? The markets are closed today. That's where I got the number that if you pull up Google stock price, that's where it's sitting. Now there's some after hours trading. It will go up and down, but what's important is it's $104.36 at the moment as of August 1st, which was probably Friday, right? Now, while it has experienced a slight pullback since then, the overall upward trend reflects investor optimism about the company's performance and future prospects. Now, is that actually Friday? The first one might have been a Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday makes sense because Friday was a market crash, so I couldn't see that happening because now it's actually dropped to like $88, I think. Now, while I experienced a slight pullback, that's the case. Overall upward trend reflects investor optimism about the company's performance and future prospects. They've been good continuously, one quarter after another. Now, while the trucking market remains challenging, C.H. Robinson's ability to navigate these conditions and deliver strong financial results has solidified its position as a leader in the industry. Why is this important? So many companies are struggling. So many companies, like I said, contracting, getting rid of drivers, sitting on older equipment longer, stretching it out with maintenance and repairs, losing contracts. They're not the healthiest in terms of their operating costs and revenue. C.H. Robinson has been optimizing the entire time. So, and now we can see. So it's a long game, guys. Now, I'm not comparing you to C.H. Robinson, but in a way I am. Everything that C.H. Robinson, their CEO, their organization can do, you can do as well. And in many ways, you can do better because you have a smaller fleet, smaller operation. All of these things are possible. You just have to, kind of get the old noodle working. So there's that. Now we're going to try a different segment, guys. Let's look at Antonio. Antonio is a driver of ours. I wanted to look at some of these numbers. These are real numbers from last week's video. If you haven't seen last week's video, you can take a look at that in our playlist. And once the video is over, I'll leave a little card in the corner so you can take a look at these. And today's guys that we're going to look over are going to be from last week. Now we're looking at Antonio, who pulls a 53-foot dry van. This is from last week. He ran for 7 days with us. Ended up grossing $7,850 in gross. Let me see if I can. That's a little too big. $7,850 in gross last week in 7 days. Ran an average of $251 per loaded mile in this market in a regular dry van. Solo driver, nothing crazy. 3,122 loaded miles is what Antonio put on last week. And guess what? Only ran 115 deadhead miles in total. So that's pretty good. So here's the thing, guys. If that sounds like something that you could do, run a dry van. If you want to look at the loads, the commodities he ran, the areas he ran, all those things are in the video. This is just a little representation of a real customer of ours. Antonio, 53-foot dry van, 251 loaded miles, $7,850 in gross, 3,122 loaded miles, and 115 deadhead miles. Made him really good money, and I bet he's going to do really well next week as well. If you guys want to get more info, 801-448-6363 is the phone number. Call or text that number. I would also highly recommend get on our website, aftdispatch.com. On there, you'll see two boxes. One's for carriers who have their own MC authority. The other one's got for owner ops to lease on. So just pick the right one, fill out your info. That way, nothing will get lost in translation. So I look forward to working with you guys, talking with you guys, and I'll make sure Alex gets in touch with all of those who submit their information. So thank you so very much. Cruise ships are big, and he said they take up a lot of space. What do cruise ships need before setting out to sea? Well, I would think they need fresh water, they need food, and they need some fuel. Other than that, I have no idea. But I do know that trucking is the way to go versus cruise ships. Cruise ships are for your R&R, and I'm glad you're doing it, Adam. But we're going to get back to trucking. The next one is going to be trucking jobs. They slide as warehouses hire up. So that's part of the story of what we're talking about here. Sorry about that, guys. Lots of notifications popping up. So what we're actually seeing today is there are warehousing jobs that are actually coming up in terms of numbers. Fourth month in a row that we're seeing contractions in the job market for truckers. So it makes me wonder, because I remember myself saying these things 2 to 3 years ago, saying, well, once a contraction happens, once companies start shutting down, once they're unable to operate, once big box companies start taking over a lot of these company drivers, and we have a saturation in the market, what happens with the rest of the drivers? What happens to an unskilled workforce? And unskilled I mean by that is unskilled outside of trucking. Everybody knows that, the truckers who've been in the industry for a long time, they're professional truck drivers, CDL holders, not just steering wheel holders, right? So, but what happens after that? What kind of skilled labor? And what does our government say? Learn to code, right? Learn to program. Well, here's the thing. It's not for everyone. And now with AI, I'm not even sure if that's the way to go. So what happens? Well, what we're seeing is that it seems like a lot of truckers are giving up trucking jobs in whatever sense form that they're in, and moving to warehouse operation, warehouse work. So, hello from Minnesota, from WRR. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate you. Guys, if you get a chance, please hit the like button. We're not getting a lot of viewers. Maybe YouTube has decided not to send out too many notifications or whatnot. So let's kind of press that. If you get a chance, hit the like button. Would really appreciate that. So trucking jobs. Job losses continue. The number of jobs in the truck transportation sector has declined for the 4th consecutive month. There you have it. Warehouse jobs surged. The number of warehouse jobs has increased significantly in the past few months, with a total gain of 23,600 jobs in the last 3 months. Now, as far as the labor market trends, the overall unemployment rate has risen from 4% to 4.3%. Guess what happened to the stock market, right? Look at fuel costs, look at oil, look at diesel costs. Why are they declining when we have this robust economy, right? Well, we don't. That's the case. So demand is down. When demand is down, so is fuel cost, right? So, and freight is down, demand, purchasing, all of that is down, tonnage is down. You can look at all this information. It's provided by the government on a monthly basis. But some experts anticipate it to stabilize back closer to 4%. The number of resumes in transportation with the status of ready to work, sorry about that, status of ready to work on Indeed.com has also decreased. Carriers are becoming increasingly impatient with the ongoing down cycle and lackluster peak season. Many analysts believe that the spot market will not recover for another year, which could lead to further market participants leaving the carrier side. So there you have it. A lot of folks are saying that, look, maybe the contract market is going to correct itself, but certainly not the spot market. Now, I don't necessarily believe that, but I do believe in looking forward a little bit, looking at the data that's presented to us, looking at what we actually see live, talking to our dispatchers, and looking at the loads, and that's why we do these load videos every week. Some weeks we do see a much lower turnaround. Numbers are much lower, rates are lower, gross is lower, more deadhead, more struggle, more loads, and these are things that we don't necessarily talk about in the videos, but there's a lot of cancellations, a lot of stuff that falls through, there's a lot of stress, and some weeks are better than others, and so that's kind of what we're seeing here. So I do think a lot more are going to be leaving the industry. Now it brings us to Mike. We looked at a drive-in, and now we'll look at Mike with his 53-foot reefer. Mike was on the road for 7 days. 7 days OTR, gross $6,600 gross, at an average of $278 per loaded mile, ran 2,374 loaded miles, and a grand total of 38 deadhead miles. So pretty much every mile that he ran paid him good money. Again, if you're a reefer carrier, you're a reefer owner-operator that leases under other companies, here's your opportunity. If you're not hitting these kind of dollar amounts, like I said, we have guys hitting well over $7,000, $6,600, but this was 7 days on the road, and $278 is a great rate per mile, especially considering you had almost no deadhead whatsoever. So that was very, very well done. Let us know at 801-448-6363. Call that number or go to or text that number, but also you can go to our aftdispatch.com homepage and get more info there. Guys, the freight industry rebounds amidst economic uncertainty. I hope you guys like my AI graphics with text overlays. Anyway, just want to make it nice and pretty and things like that. So, the freight industry is experiencing a resurgence. Container imports into the U.S. have skyrocketed, signaling a robust demand for goods. However, challenges persist. Many small trucking companies, propped up by government loans during the pandemic, may face bankruptcy, potentially tightening the capacity market. The looming presidential election adds another layer of uncertainty. A second Trump term could stimulate the economy, but also introduce new tariffs. Despite these factors, industry experts remain optimistic about the freight market's trajectory for the remainder of 2024 and into 2025. With increased demand and a potential for decreased capacity, shippers are advised to secure transportation options early to avoid disruptions. While the industry faces hurdles, the overall trend indicates a promising outlook for freight. Again, as we mentioned in last week's, or actually in this week's Friday video, do we trust these guys? Because they keep moving the goalposts, right? They keep shifting, and they keep saying in the spring, in the summer, in the winter. You have to remember, in the Friday video, we talked about buying a truck. So if you're a new MC, is this a good time to do it? If you're looking to expand, if you're looking to upgrade, looking to replace equipment, whatever might be the case, is this a good time? And we ran through the numbers. So if you're in that position, you can watch that video. We got some numbers, and there's a special year of truck that had the lowest price, and we looked at the mileage and kind of what's been going on and the trends, and give some advice based on what the information provided, as well as kind of my 2 cents. Take a look at that, and I think that's going to certainly help you. Again, once the live's over, I'll leave little cards in the corner and hopefully make some chapters, and it'll be a lot more accessible. But nonetheless, let's kind of get an idea of what we're actually doing here. Are we going to be sticking around till 2025? Can you afford to do that at the pace? Let's say there was no improvement until 2025. Let's say until spring or something like that. I don't hold my breath for winter. There's going to be some spikes. There's going to be weather-related events that will affect the rates. And ultimately, if diesel continues to decline in price, rates will too. Now, there is no correlation between diesel price and rates. I realize what I just said earlier. However, when you stack it, but what is important is that the more expensive diesel is, the more you actually profit. As long as your equipment is efficient, because you'll actually get 1 extra mile per gallon or 2 extra mile per gallon. And so that makes up the difference. So, and we can look at all those numbers and actually break it down. So that is what we got for that. And the last one, I thought I'd throw this in only because flatbeds. A lot of you guys want to know about flatbed freight. Patrick is one of our drivers, been with us for a very, very long time, does an amazing job every time, and it hits the top load, top loads every, weekly, all the time. And he runs a 48-foot flatbed, very experienced driver, only 6 days OTR with this one, yet he managed to gross $6,870 in gross, ran a respectable 241 a loaded mile, did not have some ridiculously heavy freight, which is typical for flatbed and step deck carriers and owner-operators. He ran 2,850 loaded miles, and I ran his deadhead. It was 175 miles. I didn't have that on my spreadsheet, so that was 175 miles of deadhead is what he had. 241 a loaded mile, 6870 in just 6 days. Did a fantastic job running a flatbed, ending up in a decent market and not having to run heavy freight. If of interest, call or text this number, 801-448-6363, or visit us online at aftdispatch.com. So there's that, you guys. I'll leave that up here. And we got a few comments. Gerald Davenport, welcome back, sir. The more rejection rate increase, the spot market would be the first to see profits from market corrections. Absolutely. But who does it come down to? Rejection rates come down to the carriers, right? We are the ones who reject the rates, and we're the ones who don't. We are the market makers. We just need to accept that and understand that we are the market makers. If everybody just sits, prices go up. If people refuse, that's a rejection rate. The percentage gets added on. Every one of those rejections, they go back to the customer, get more money, or they have the reserves and they're just less greedy and they give you the money to move the freight. Because if the freight doesn't move, they don't make a commission. So don't just take what the brokers give you. Don't take their word for it when they say that that's all I got in it. That is an old trick. BS, especially when there are loads with multiple, which you may or may not know, but with the right questions, you can find out. So if you find out that there's a series of loads and there's like 48 truckloads of this stuff, and they just started shipping this like a few days ago or something, or their first shipment started coming out, there's more money in it. It's not the last load. You could take it off some other loads in the future to move this one, gives you the money, and has to worry about that one later. Now, if the market tanks, you might still have enough money in there to make sense of it, to ship it at the lower rate that they cost because they took money out of it. But you don't care. What you care is your bottom line. The brokers don't care about you. You shouldn't care about them either. And if some carrier wants to take a load for $1 a mile from a good area to a bad area, well, you know what? That's not the broker's fault. That's only the carrier. And if he's working with dispatch, that's dispatch fault. They shouldn't do that. So take advantage. Those rejection rates will increase, and the spot market, the spot rates will also increase along with it. So let's take a look here. Oh, that's not what we want. That's not what we want either, guys. That's what we want. So we got a few. Oh, look at that. We got a bunch of folks on our Instagram feed as well. Thank you guys for joining. I can't see your face. Try moving to the center. Hey, Catherine, I appreciate you telling me this. The problem is, ma'am, you won't be able to see me because Instagram's got like a vertical, and so it cuts it out, and then everyone else has got a horizontal setup. So that's the reason why I highly recommend getting in touch with us on our YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/aftdispatch and just jump in on that, you're going to be able to see a lot more of the screen. Instagram, unfortunately, that's just how it works. And hopefully you'll see this, Catherine. Thank you for leaving those comments, and thanks to every single one of you guys who stopped by on the show there. There's our homepage, guys. If you guys ever have any questions, I've been a little bit backed up with blogging, so I have not written anything, but there's plenty of comments, commentary here. There's plenty of good information. We have info that will actually help you, not just not just empty stuff. Our website, this is what I was telling you guys, talking to you guys about. This is the section, dispatch service, owner operators. Click that, and you can click these as well for more information or to learn more button, fill it out. Every one of our videos is here. You could see, years and years and years of videos. They're all populated here, not only on our channel. So there's a ton of stuff. And again, should truckers trust the experts? Which I think is a question that we all need to answer for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, these experts, they don't really pay a price for being wrong. They move goalposts. They revise information 1 to 2 months after, and the revisions are usually pretty quiet, like the corrections and the apologies of newspapers, right? So you have to take it with a grain of salt. Make sure you're not leaving money on the table. And if you're in this game long term, just be aware that winter is coming. You may need to refill the coffers now. Make sure you are setting aside money for maintenance and repairs and all of those things. And if you are a new carrier, just be aware that it's going to be very difficult. It is much more difficult now than it has been in the past, let's say 3 to 4 years ago. So that is the case. How are you guys doing? I've been rambling here for 26 minutes. Would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? I mean, should we trust these so-called experts? I mean, I think we did that with the last medical crisis that we had from 2019, right? C-19. And now we have all these lawsuits and congressional hearings and all these other things. That's not going to happen in the trucking industry. They'll just, the carriers will just go out of business. It won't be an issue. I mean, if you remember, there was issues with, there were some questions about like ELDs. Oh, I didn't want to do that. There were some questions with ELDs and hours of service and all sorts of other stuff. And they were gathering data for several years. And then they ended up reverting to old rules after years of basically of putting truckers out of business in many cases, making it difficult. And they say, oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, you guys were right. Once we gathered all this information, turned out to be, yeah, you guys are right. You're absolutely right. So we're going back to the old ruling. But in the process, how many people they hurt? And what did that, ultimately, I mean, I'm glad we were right. That's awesome. But was that even necessary? Irie, hello. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate that. So yeah, guys. So there's that. Now another thing I was gonna make a video about. I don't have it on my screen or anything like that. But I figured maybe we ought to talk about this because by the time I make a video, it's gonna be delayed and many of you guys might get burnt by it. So there's a new scam that's going around. Be super careful. Scammers are getting into your MCS 150 file with the FMCSA, with the US DOT that you do your biannual updates. And what they're doing is all kinds of crooked stuff with emails that are coming in that are people just falling for it. Now, they're spoofing emails, and they're also using very similar email addresses that might, like the domain, the TLD, might seem very similar, and you might not notice a difference. But it's not coming from the government. The government's not going to ask you for any personally identifiable information. They're going to ask you for PIN codes. And what these guys are doing is they're getting into your systems by basically making themselves look like the government. The information gets sent to them. They get into the system. They update, they can update your payment information. They can change whatever you want through there, through the MCS 150. That will go live within a day or two or sometimes right away. And then what they can do is they can make changes to the payees for non-factored customers and take advantage of quick pay programs by updating packets on runs that you have done, and you just basically BS and take money as either have money sent to them or take cash advances, basically, which is an old scam initially. But for you to fix this is going to be very difficult because they're going to basically take all control over your company. For you to go and prove that you're the owner is going to take some work. It really will. So just be really careful. Pay special attention, extra attention to letters, emails, domain names. Same thing is happening with brokers. Brokers are catching on. Pay attention to the logos on rate confirmations, on email addresses. Make sure that everything is something catches your eye and something that doesn't seem right. Make sure to pay extra attention. It's not for no reason. Trucker Sosa Nelson says, "What's up, brother? This is Nelson. I was talking to you on the phone about me getting my new truck." Hey, Nelson, how you doing? It's been a little while, man. Yeah, we definitely talked. I think that was last week. I thought you were a different Nelson that we got running. So. I'm super glad to see you. Hopefully you get that picked up. And if you need any help or anything like that, or if you like lease on, we can get you the letter that you would need to give to the lenders and to the to the dealership so you can get that. Or if you got your own leased on thing going on, or if you're a carrier, whatever, anything we can help you, just let me know. You know how to get in touch with us. So I appreciate you stopping by, sir. Thank you. So thank you so much. Adam Buser saying, is 30 euros per kilometer a good rate? Well, euros will be probably somewhere in Europe. I don't know their rates, but off the top of my head, I would think that 30 euros per kilometer is an absolutely fantastic rate. I would think, but it depends. If you're traveling only a kilometer, that might not be worth it. So it just really depends. But if you're running, 2,000 kilometers at 30 euros kilometer, I think that's a fantastic deal. But again, don't know much about European deals and all that stuff, so I wouldn't know. But in America, if they wanted to pay me 30 euros a mile, I'd take even 15. It would be just fine. Yeah. So how you guys doing? How's everybody doing in the comments? Check and tighten all the bolts, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're gonna have more blitzes scheduled. They're gonna be checking all sorts of different stuff. So you want to make sure either stay home for that if you know that you're not gonna comply and pass the inspections, and go out there. We'll talk about more of that as they schedule those things out and as the changes come in. But absolutely. Cool. Very cool. So guys, what do you guys think? I mean, with the stories that we covered, I mean, do you guys feel like, let me see, let me pop that back up here. Do you feel like the market's actually improving, or do you feel like maybe that's the one? There it is. Do you feel like the markets are actually improving, or are we, are we stuck in this thing where we're still waiting for more trucking companies to go out of business? Because I think that's going to have to happen. I think we're going to see more of that during the wintertime when there is a real slowdown. I've had customers talk to me, very close customers. We talk all the time. We spend time together when they come out to Salt Lake and whatnot. When I was in Nebraska, they come visit and stuff. So that was pretty cool. So we talk on the phone, and the guy says, look, man, the day that they're going to put, automatic braking or automatic anything, or they're going to limit me in whatever way, it's going to be the last day that I'm running. Now, I feel that there are a lot of old timers and a lot of old school drivers that feel exactly the same way. Whether it is, automatic emergency braking, whether it's speed limiters, whether it's going to be artificial intelligence or front-facing cameras or some sort of other technological, items that they're going to use that will further limit, right, your freedoms within the truck, your ability to work, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe that's going to be the straw that, the final straw that broke the camel's back, and we'll have a major exodus that will take several months to a year. Maybe there's going to be more trucking companies with very high operating costs that are going to go out of business as well. But our truckers going to go to warehouse jobs, and as MS had mentioned earlier, it's hard to believe. Warehouse jobs are being replaced by robot forklifts, and he knows because it was a forklift operator. So is that the next thing? Is that what's happening? Is this a temporary move? Are we all going to be just collecting UBI, right? Universal Basic Income. What about freight industry? Is it actually rebounding, or is it uncertain? Or should we just say, okay, you know what? These guys are saying 2025. I mean, I've been saying that spring of 2025 for a hot minute now, because I just don't see that happening there's just not enough time between now and beginning of winter. Winter, we can only count on a couple of major holidays, which will create down markets and spikes, increases. And we can hopefully hold our breath for terrible weather, which will increase rates. But terrible weather also increases accidents. It slows the speed limits down, your average speed. You spend more time on the road, you get less miles. And while you might be getting more, higher rate per mile, you may not gross as much ultimately. So yeah, absolutely. Well, I got a whole bunch of comments here. Wet Willie said, "What's the better market hauling out of Iowa, van reefer or flatbed?" So Willie, I'd have to look at that one, because this is what we ended the week. What I would do if I was you, I would give our guys a call in the morning, Monday morning, they'll be up and running early in the morning. So give them a buzz and just say, hey, yeah, I won't take much of your time. This is Willie. Vitaly was doing a live, last night, and he said, hey, give you guys a call. They'll talk to you. You just hit, call the number 801-448-6363, and then you hit extension 2, and then that'll go to dispatch. And I'll go to all the dispatchers, so someone's going to pick up the phone. Now, they might be a little rushed because in the morning they're booking loads, they're looking at a ton of stuff, and they might be a little stressed. But tell them, hey, listen, I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, but here's the thing. I'm hauling out of Iowa. That's where I live, or whatever may be the situation. What are you guys seeing? Should I run a van, reefer, or a flatbed? So, and there's a lot that goes into it. Flatbeds are cheaper and less expensive to insure generally, but on the other hand, you have to have a lot of auxiliary equipment and all kinds of other stuff. And flatbed work is not for everyone. Some people hate it in the summer. Some people hate it in the winter. So there are some ups and downs on that end as well. So hopefully that helps. Gerald Davenport, any news about border transparency? So broker transparency. So the broker transparency, don't expect any news because the government last year at the very end has pushed the beginning of the new laws. We made a video about that, and that was a setup that would go from 2024, 2025, and 2026. Now they enacted the law in 2024. It did absolutely nothing. 2025 was going to be a portion of it, and then the 2026, and I believe there might have been a portion in 2027. I'd have to go back through my notes, but we did make a video. We actually covered that part of it as well. In fact, I'm going to see if I can dig that up and leave it in a corner so you guys can watch that later as well. But I wouldn't expect too many changes. It's kind of like a warning shot that they gave to brokers where here, you guys, we're coming for you, but you have one more year to do your dirty to these carriers because after, this date, we're going to have this happen. And after this date, we're going to have this happen. Now, by the time it's all said and done, yeah, we're going to have some things that are going to be in place that are going to help and cover carriers. But this is like that last minute of them being able to take advantage of the carriers. So I only expect these things to get worse until they get better because you're kind of taking away their power a little bit. But also between now and then, there could be more new laws written and a lot of amendments and all kinds of other lawsuits. So, whatever is going to happen in 2 to 3 years or even in a year, not going to, hold my breath on a lot of these things. So there's not been much broker transparency laws, but you can certainly look those up. There's the FreightWaves had an excellent article last year where they broke it down into sections for each year, 24, 25, 26, possibly 27. I have to look into that. Adam Buser, does it depend on the season? So absolutely depends on the season. So reefers do really well during produce season. Dry vans can do well, year round, but it just kind of they're more of a general thing, right? So general freight. Flatbeds generally do really well during construction, spring, summer. In the fall, they'll do really well as the weather. Now this year it didn't happen. And again, that's something we talked about. So look out for that, but it may not happen because there are very, very low amounts of new home starts. The economy wasn't doing good. Not a lot of people are becoming first home buyers, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're counting on massive like lumber spikes and massive construction spikes, that may or may not transpire. And that's what a lot of people started seeing as the weather warmed up. So it does depend on a season. But the thing is, we live in an upside down world, Adam. That's the thing. Irie, he said, I find inspections fun. More proof, I'm a pro. Yeah, man, you're the first one who said he finds inspections fun. I've had some guys, they just could not get inspected. They could not get pulled over. They started driving with their seatbelts off so that they could get pulled over. But even that didn't help. I had 2 drivers tell me that over the last couple of years. And I'm sure there's more of you guys out there. Plus nowadays, some police stations, some cities, some states, some just police officers are very aggressive in terms of requesting these inspections, so that they can be done. But do remember, guys, that most of the police will not submit your positive inspections. However, they will 100% of the time, unless there's a mistake made, submit your negative ones. So when you get those, again, gentle reminder, make sure you take a clear picture or scan it, turn it into a PDF, attach it to an email, top left corner of every one of these forms, no matter what state you got it from, there's going to be an email and a fax number. I suggest using email. Email that PDF to that email address in the subject line. this is an inspection for USDOT number this, MC number this. In the body of the email, hi, please see attached inspection for MC number this, DOT number that. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Send that in. After a day or two, you're going to see that show up on your safer. Super, super important, especially if you're behind and there's stuff going against you and brokers are not booking your loads or you're losing freight because of your crappy rating or because maybe you don't have any inspections. Then it's super important to get those in there, the positive ones, because the bad one bad one's going to actually require you to get 3 good ones in order to get that corrected. So you want to be ahead of the curve. WRR says, will the fall and winter season be busier for reefer or van? So here's the thing. Keep in mind that reefers can also run warmer temperatures. It's temperature controlled, not only refrigerated, right? So that can be the case. Now, also keep in mind that reefer is going to be more steady. It's going to be more consistent. However, you also have to keep in mind that reefers have a higher cost, the initial acquisition cost. Rental rates are a lot higher. Insurance is higher. You have to have additional policies such as reefer breakdown. And, you have a lot more liability because what happens if if your reefer craps out, right? So you have a lot more liability. And so for a lot of guys, plus a lot of guys just don't want to sleep in a reefer, with a reefer running. Now, it doesn't prevent you from, if you're in a truck stop, you back in and your neighbors, to your left and right got reefers running. Maybe they got ice cream loads and it's just all night. You know what I mean? Now, a lot of people get used to it. They don't care. Everything's fine. Some people can't stand it, and they would certainly not find themselves in a reefer. I prefer reefers because I think they're much more versatile. If you're a small carrier and you only got one trailer, reefer will save you in that way. So I wouldn't be worried about whether or not it's going to be busier one way or another. Look at it like this. You're having a good time. You're making money. You end up in a crappy market, and there's just no no reefer freight. You're in a reefer. Well, you look for a dry load. 8 out of 10 times you can get that load to fit, make it work. It's fine. So you get out of there, lose less time, take a dry van load, and move markets, right? So that's gonna help a ton. With a dry van, you just couldn't do that, even if it was vented. With a flatbed, you couldn't do that. Step deck, you couldn't do that. There is no other piece of equipment that you could do that except for temperature controlled. So that's what I like about reefers. But we started with dry vans; they're just fine. However, if you get a dry van and it's yours, or if it's a rental and they allow you to do it, get it vented, because we're getting into that season where in the fall you're going to be able to take advantage and benefit from having those vents installed. One of our carrier customers has had that installed, has been taking advantage of that, and will begin to take advantage more and more of it because they will become more and more available. Those VV vans, vented vans, those VV loads is what I mean. So I would do that. Irie says, time to sell more pet rocks. Corn. Yeah, so nowadays that might be a viable option, pet rocks. People have really lost their minds nowadays, so there's that. Vigakasaka. That is an awesome name. Hey, dude, how RGN market looking? So I don't know much about RGNs. We don't handle that market, to be honest with you. Removable gooseneck is a totally different trailer type, and it could have all sorts of equipment, right? You could have, a flatbed, step deck, whatnot, could be on your RGN. So it could depend. Plus, a lot of guys are refer to RGN, but they run hot shots. And so it really kind of varies. I would actually talk to a dispatch company or someone who deals primarily with RGN, maybe make friends with some brokers, because we're not the right guys for that. We're definitely not the right guys for that. But I do have a friend who runs guys on RGN, step decks and flatbeds, triple axles. He runs, he dispatches a carrier with multiple of these trucks that run OTR, and they run oversized, overweight. He gets all the permits, he gets all the negotiation, everything, blah, 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 all the paperwork. He works his tail off. But he's been able to make good money for these guys, and they've been able to grow some really good money. So if anything, that's what they do. Flatbed John Deere. Irie says. Adam Busser, do truckers need to know the growing season before picking up a load on a farm? So let me take a look here. Let's see if I can. This will be easier for me to read this way. Sorry, guys. Give me 30 seconds. Okay, so you're saying do truckers need to know the growing season before picking up a load on a farm? So I mean, it depends for what knowledge, I mean, what you're trying to do. So it definitely helps. There are USDA agricultural reports that you can take a look at. We made a video earlier this year about one of these things where we talked about orange production, different types of oranges. We looked at Florida. We looked at some of the other fruits that were coming in. They do produce these documents. They do update them. They give them out at no cost to you. And there's other companies that are out there that actually analyze the data and provide you reports that that you can get for free, or they charge you money for. But the point is this. At the time, for example, we saw that we would have more oranges than a previous year. But at the same time, what the information told us that the oranges were smaller in size. And since it was based on box weight, how many fit in there, they would have to use more oranges because they're smaller to fill a box. So the expectations were that although we would have a stronger season in Florida, there would be less actual tonnage available because there would be less boxes. So knowing the market, knowing the seasons for reefers, it would definitely help you. You can watch these things as they come in, and there's data on strawberries, there's data on apples and different types of produce, and you can get that information for the major kind of breadbasket states, if you will. For Florida and California is really big on that. There's other states, like you can look at Idaho is really big on potatoes, on onions, on garlic, things like that. They have different types of potatoes. They have different types of onions. Some come out later, some are early. So if you get to know these things, yeah, absolutely, you're going to be able to price your freight right. You're going to be able to take the right stuff, go to the right markets. Like, for example, in Maine, there's about a 3-week window in the fall to pick blueberries. Pays fantastic, really great money, but God forbid you miss that period and you get there for them and there's nothing left, because now you're coming out empty. There's nothing coming out of Maine. But at the time, you could actually run there for like a 2 or 3 week window, running freight all over the country, making really good money. So does it benefit you to know the seasons and when stuff's coming out, and keep track of seasonally adjusted numbers, and keep track of what paid you more last year, what paid well, what was a waste of time, so you can repeat that this year. Especially if something that did really well last year, and then this year we have more of it, then you have, more availability, and it's going to do really, really well. Thank you for all the comments, guys. Just as a quick reminder, please smash the like button. Let's get some more viewers in here. It's definitely helping a ton. 47 minutes into the video, we got a bunch of viewers. Not as hot as we used to have it, but I definitely appreciate every single one of you guys on very, very live chat session. So it does depend on the season. Irie says, I find inspections fun. We already went through that. Let me find my spot. There we go. Do truckers need to know? We got that one. Wet Willie, the Fed has it tight right now, waiting to see what rate cuts does to the economy. Now, Willie, that's fantastic. That's a really great point. Here's the interesting thing. I believe that we're going to have some aggressive rate cuts, but the problem is that when you have high unemployment, rate cuts will only make things worse. Now, a lot of people are waiting for rate cuts because even with the market declines, we saw mortgage rate declines and people are losing their mind. And so what's happening is that the government is going to try to use rate cuts and future promises of rate cuts in order to move the economy further so we can increase our spending, which we will feel, because if spending is what we do in America, we are a consumer nation, so that's what we're going to see. But if the majority of spending is going to be through the housing market, through mortgages and things like that, it's not really going to do anything for us in the trucking industry. Hopefully there's going to be more construction, flatbedders and step deckers can step it up, but summer's almost over, and usually the real estate market slows down in the wintertime anyway, so that's the case. If you're engaging and ask good questions, most officials are okay. You're absolutely right. Irie, thank you so much, man. You're so full of really good information. Last week's live, you were super, super helpful. It was the week before. Every time you stop by, some really good information. So there you go, folks. If you're engaging and ask good questions, most officials are okay. They're willing to help you out, give you answers, and and take good care of you guys. So there is that available. Gerald Davenport, inspections fall off after 3 years. So the inspections will fall off. I'm not sure if it's a 3-year window, but I do know that as my brother was running a lot of local freight, and we took some OTR stuff, and they needed to see some inspections. The inspections that we had were about 2 years old, and they were not good enough for them. Now, the inspections that did show up on our Safer had zeroed out. So, we got some more ever since then. Those are back in place, but we've certainly had a lot more inspections during that period than we had recently, for example, right? But you are right. They do, because it does say on Safer that the information is over 36 months. 36 months is 3 years. So you're absolutely right. Now that I think about it. He said, got to keep it clean, that reefer. Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep reefers clean. Reefers are going to require a lot more, to take maintenance, sweeping, cleaning it up. Maybe right on the walls that people don't puncture holes or write things along the walls. I'll have to take some pictures of one of our reefers. And my brother created a stencil, had a stencil created, a ginormous one that we spray paint in on the doors, which prevents some damage from occurring. Sometimes it doesn't prevent anything. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Windmill blades are fun when over 180 feet. So yeah, that's definitely flatbed freight. That's definitely for the big stuff. Yeah, you got to be careful with the turns you make there, Irie. Adam Buser saying, do tankers make money more or less than reefers do in general? Mostly for fuel or oil? So good point. Good question, Adam. So to answer that question, here's the thing. I had an acquaintance of mine. He actually worked as a dispatcher with us when we had opened up our largest office at the time. This was several years ago. I think this was 2018, 2019 maybe. Or maybe no, 2017, 2018. Nonetheless, what happened during that time was he was working as a tank driver, right? He was working for Maverick. Maybe you guys are aware of Maverick, very large corporation. He would work full, his 11 hours driving, 14-hour work days. He'd work 6 days a week, 7 days a week, busting his butt, made huge amounts of money. We're talking salary, all the benefits, everything, very dangerous, but he made huge amounts of money, and that actually allowed him to do lots of fun stuff for himself, for his family, start some other businesses, explore some other options, and pick up trucks, start different businesses, do different things. And he ultimately left the company, but he spent several years there. So without a doubt, zero doubt, tankers for fuel and oil, and he dealt with fuel for a large company with enough experience under your belt will always make more money than your reefers. Absolutely. He made more money as a company driver with zero liability on the equipment expenses or anything else than owner-operators running reefers, flatbeds, or step decks in the spot market. Okay, so it just really depends. But it is very hard work and it's very, very dangerous. I've had another driver another acquaintance of ours that worked dealing with gas. Not diesel, with gas as a tanker, and the top was pressurized wrong or did something wrong, blew the top, and he was near it. Had its head been a little bit closer, it would have taken his head off completely because of the top blew off of the tanker. So be super, super careful, and it's not worth any money to have your head decapitated. Irie says that the eggplant market is huge. Okay. All right. Well, to each their own. I'm Armenian. We love to grill eggplants, so there is that. But I have a feeling Irie might be talking about something different. Adam Buser says, I got to wait for apple season for this autumn. So apple season is going to be just around the corner in Washington State. Take a gander there. It pays very, very well. Also, keep in mind, guys, for example, Christmas trees. Christmas trees begin way prior to the year, and they actually before Christmas, and they actually end all the way in like February, sometimes all the way through March for some reason, okay? You have to keep in mind, for example, and a lot of Christmas trees, you can actually run them during certain times of the year with vented vans, so take advantage. But you got to know your Christmas tree types, because in Washington, they grow 3 or 4 different kinds. I think 3. Some are cheap, some are more expensive, right? The really expensive stuff, you can make a lot more money. But if you don't know that, coming back to the earlier question of knowing your markets, knowing your seasons, knowing your commodities as well. If you know that you're carrying an expensive commodity and taking on larger liability than you would have otherwise, should something happen, you should definitely make more money. Same thing with apples. Once apple season kicks in, there's going to be apples that are going to be expensive. There's going to be stuff that costs less, and so you want to be able to know what you're carrying so that you are at least aware of the liability you're taking, that God forbid something bad happens on the road. All right. So definitely know your seasons, know your produce, know your rig. Moving batteries is big. Okay. I'm assuming like EV trucks or something like that. Let's get it. Don't stop till you dive. There you go. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate all the names coming up. So thank you so much for that. Right and Dirty says that they said we're heading into a recession on the fourth quarter. What do you think? To be honest with you, I mean, I think that we've been in a recession for some time now. What's happening is that we're looking at delayed data in there with the new numbers, seeing lower lows, and I believe it was 3 consecutive quarters in a row. No, not 3 consecutive. 3 consecutive months in a row of lower lows, and I think that's what actually hit recently as of last Friday. But these things tend to happen on Friday, so we'll actually have to see what's going on. I missed out because I should have taken advantage of the declines to be able to buy into some mutual funds, but I missed out. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens on Monday, because we're probably going to see a very strong recovery, a bounce back from everyone who jumps in with FOMO, fear of missing out. So I think that we're definitely into a recession, and I don't know, on the fourth quarter would be the time if that's the case, because the fourth quarter is the coldest quarter, and that slows things down. So that's what I think. Definitely take your money where you can get it. Establish your connections. Try to make better deals with the companies that you work with. Find yourself a really strong dispatcher. You know, whether us or whoever. If you're a leased on owner op, you know, make sure you're not getting screwed by the leased on operation, the outfit. Make sure that they're actually taking care of you. Make sure they haven't created expenses that shouldn't be there. Because a lot of companies are doing a lot of fishy stuff nowadays in order to be able to retain their earnings, you know. So just make sure you're working with honest people, and that the gross you're bringing in is honest, that you're not overpaying for services or overpaying for services that you don't need or don't use. You know what I mean? Just be super careful. Keep your costs under control. So there's that. Sid Abma. With this major trucking company downturn, how are the parking conditions for our truckers? So, Sid, parking conditions have been pretty terrible all around. The current administration has set aside a very large sum of money for parking, for improvements of facilities, for general infrastructural improvements for truckers. However, and we made a video about that. I'll try to stick a clip here so you guys can take a look at that. Tap the little... once the video is up, I'll get in and add those videos. And you can find it. Just search for like infrastructure, something like that. I think it was a video that we did, or a live we did on, that was Biden's 16-year plan. That talked a lot about where they're putting in money. They also made one, maybe it was in the same video, how they broke that money up and where it's going, which states, and how it's going to be spent. Some of that was on truck stops. Some of it was for better facilities. Some were just for parking facilities. And in some cases, like we discussed, it looked like they were spending way too much money per spot, way too much money for the small square footage they were going to create. So it seemed like maybe that money was not being spent very well. But we made a whole video about that. Certainly recommend taking a look at that, and I'll try to remember to add those there. So yeah, absolutely. Wet Willie said, wouldn't rate cuts create more opportunity as businesses would begin to start borrowing again? So you're absolutely right. I mean, rate cuts would create more opportunity, but the problem that happens is that rate cuts generally during a recessionary period, when you have consistently declining employment numbers, and every month they're revising previous month numbers. Every quarter the revisions come in deeper and deeper. The cuts are deeper and deeper. And cuts, I mean, is like things getting worse, not tax cuts, not rate cuts. But absolutely, I'd love to see some rate cuts. I would love to see some rate cuts in a sense, because we could actually get money at a lower cost, right? Because the prime rate will go down, the cost of the dollar would go down, and so the lending would increase, because a lot of people are just sitting on their hands now, just waiting for the news, right? So there's gonna be some of that, like, you know, and they're gonna do that. I think they're gonna maybe do 50 basis points, then another quarter, then maybe another quarter to a 50 basis points. So and that would make some bigger changes. The problem is that right now everyone is so tight, and we're seeing spending decline. We're seeing consumer spending decline. We're seeing consumer debt increase. We're seeing credit card debt increase. We're seeing auto repossessions at a very high numbers. We're seeing people unable to afford rent increases that they're seeing in their areas. We're also seeing people losing their homes because of adjustable rate mortgages, option arms that they had taken on some time ago because of just unscrupulous people or whatnot that sold on the policies. So that's that's the problem. But yeah, absolutely, it would create more opportunities. Businesses begin to borrow money, but right now, I'm not sure if that's the time to do it. That's the time. We're having lower and lower. Look at the unemployment numbers. They came down. They were at 4, now to 4.3, and they're thinking they're going to come back down to about 4 to 4.2. So that's what they're thinking. So we shall see. Now Halloween is now. Irie says. Lily also added that it's going to be a lot of grain to be moved here in Iowa soon enough. Wet Willie, thank you so much for letting me know about that. That was something that I wish someone would say. I'm like right on the money, man. Because the reason for it is that what we're seeing is actually grain production has been down in other countries, and the major exporters of grain that we rely on heavily, they decided to keep their grain. And we're talking nations, other countries, right, that export to us and that we rely on. They decided to keep them for themselves, which was tough. Then you guys, then you got like some of the other countries with other exports that are doing the same damn thing as well. So it's really heartwarming to hear from a Midwestern. So you must be from the Midwest that you're starting to, that you're saying that they're going to be, that there's going to be a lot of grain coming in. That's very, very good news, because we were hearing the complete opposite. So I'm glad about that. Plus, Ukraine, they're pretty much offline. It's a breadbasket of Europe, so there's going to be a lot of buying from there. There was major problems last year in Egypt. People couldn't even get, there was not enough grain to make even bread, the bread lines. So we didn't see that here in the U.S., but other countries did. So whenever the U.S. is having a hard time, other countries are really getting beat up. So I'm really, really glad to hear about about this going on. So definitely thank you for that. What will be lots of grain moved here in Iowa soon enough. Now, Adam Buser said, I am from New Jersey, so find good apples and pumpkins are no issue. Fantastic, man. Yeah, apples, pumpkins, that Halloween season that Irie's talking about. Absolutely. There's a lot of candy that's going to be moved during that time. Think seasonal. Think Valentine's Day. Think, Christmas. Think Halloween, of course. Think Easter. Maybe not Christmas so much, but those three right there: Valentine's Day, Halloween, Easter. Lots of candy, right, during that time. When do apples start getting used, right? When is peaches going to get real hot, right? When different produce in different states, and you could pay attention because they have expectations, and they say this is how the produce is growing, this crop is growing. We lost this much. The weather did this. Freezing temperature did that. We had way too much rain and washed out this. Pay attention to all the stuff. It's Thanksgiving, I agree, absolutely. So Thanksgiving's their fourth one right there, and there's more. But yeah, right on the money, my friend. Absolutely. So there's that. Adam Woods, hey, good afternoon, guys. Thanks for the live, Vitaly. Thank you for stopping by, Adam. Really appreciate it. I'm going to ask you guys one more time. We lost a bunch of the viewers, probably something I said. And just hit the like button if you would. Let's get the show out there. Really do appreciate it. And it is Adam Buser saying, I am now I am seeing farmers markets every week in nearby towns. Guess local fruits come from the Highlands, the Lehigh Valley, the Hudson Valley, the Raritan Valley, and maybe Easter LI. Maybe I'm not reading that right. No, that's fantastic. I think that's really great. We also go to our farmers markets, and that's actually a good idea. Maybe I should do that next week and next Sunday, and go take a look and just talk to some of the local farmers, see what's growing, what's not. I can tell you that nothing in my backyard is growing. I've tried like hell, and nothing's growing but leaves and foliage. No fruits and vegetables are actually growing. So damn those fertilizers. So I'm glad that you're seeing farmers all over the state. Be a lot of grain. Irie says, yep, recovery in 2025, hopefully. And then he mentioned that Thanksgiving's the way to go. So, guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys stopping by. Let's take a quick look at some of these other guys. Again, we handle dispatch for carriers and leased on owner operators. Every one of these folks that stop by, they've been stopping by week after week. On Sundays, we do these weekly videos. Usually Alex will join me, and we usually do take phone calls. So, for example, you'd call in and get you on here on the screen, answer some of the questions, things like that. We, hold discussions with Alex and, kind of keep you guys informed, and this is designed to be more of an long form, open form format, so we can go through and read comments, take a look at all the stuff, and I just look at the growing calendar per month. There you go, Adam Busser, swear probably Buser. Adam said he's looking at the growing calendar per month. So absolutely, and you can even look like what gets planted in August and comes out at the very end before everything freezes over. It's going to be your charge, it's going to be your beans, it's going to be your sprouts and things like that, right? In the spring it might be tomatoes and cucumbers or whatever, right? I mean, I'm not a farmer, but my point is that we have a general idea of what grows, what gets picked, when it gets picked, and you can look for that information. There's a company, I think it's called FTR. They provide some really good information as well. They handle a lot of, they mainly do refrigerator, or maybe it was not FTR, it was like Arctic Kings or something like that. I'll have to look them up. It's been a while since I've looked at their stuff. They have some really good information there as well. Very well laid out information, very clean, and the guys who are presenting that information, they know exactly what they're doing. So there's definitely that. But before I end, I want to just cover really quickly all three at the same time. Now, this is not all inclusive. This is just some of the guys that I picked, and these are from last week. So these are real drivers working with us, with our dispatchers, the kind of numbers that they're bringing in. Numbers that they're bringing in, I just simply picked a van, a reefer, and a flatbed from last week. If you want to look at the details of how they ran, look at the map, look at the numbers, look at each and every single load, and then eventually look at their total dollar amounts and all the information I'm presenting you here. You can look at that in last week's video from Friday. But you can also go back for like over 4 years of videos. We had the same format, just a little more hair. But outside of that, the format never really changed. So Antonio was our dry van, 7 days OTR. He ended up grossing $7,850, regular dry van, ELD compliant. Ran 3,122 loaded miles, only 115 deadhead miles in total, and he ran his loaded miles at 251 a loaded mile. I highly doubt that his rate per mile would have changed all that much if we added 115 deadhead miles. The next person that we covered today was Mike with a 53-foot reefer, 7 days OTR, $6,600 in gross, 278 a loaded mile on his 2,374 loaded miles, and only a grand total of 38 deadhead miles, guys. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And we also finished up with Patrick with a 48-foot flatbed, 6 days OTR, $6,870 in gross, 241 a loaded mile on his 2,850 loaded miles, and I ran his deadhead was 175 deadhead miles. So get in touch with us at 801-448-6363. Questions, comments, or concerns, text them over, call, text, go to our website, aftdispatch.com, fill out the forms, and we'll be in touch with you guys and get in touch. I made Adam Woods laugh, and that's all that matters. So as long as you, was it the hair joke? It's actually a solar panel. Little do people know that when I go in the sun, it's charging. Once it's fully charged, I put a nice hat on top of it. So that's how we do, man. Local farm, Southern New Jersey is, I think, cranberries. Well, cranberry in New Jersey, right around, I think it's around, what is it, a Vineland or a Vineland? So there's that. Adam Buser says, do small farms have their own trucks to rent or had to rent one? So it honestly just depends. We worked for a company some time back with a box truck and then also a semi-truck later on. Hello from Orange, Texas, James West. Glad to see you're home, man. Awesome. Or every Sunday you seem to be in Orange, Texas or so. So awesome. Very cool, James. Thank you for stopping by. It's a long-time viewer of ours. Been with us for a long, long time. And Adam, as far as small farms and their own equipment, I don't know. I do know that we worked at a box truck, using a box truck as well as a semi years and years back. And a customer ended up actually renting a box truck, hiring a driver, and cutting us out of the business. So there was that. But that's okay. Nothing lasts forever. So, guys, I want to thank you guys all for stopping by. Some really, really lively chat today. Awesome questions. I wish we'd have more of this. And I made some settings, so actually, for some reason, they changed. So nowadays, now you guys are going to get notifications about half hour to an hour or so, about half hour before the live shows. That way you can plan. You can hit the notify button, and it'll just do a one-time notification. And then also, for some strange reason, all these awesome chats were completely gone from the replay, which was active in the past, but no longer. Now they should be active again. So those of you guys watching the video in the replay, you guys can actually go back and look at these awesome comments that these folks have left here and some of the questions and answers that we had going on, along with the comments that will appear there. But without further ado, let me see. Let me pop up the right screen here. I got some exit music for you guys. Let's see. What do we play here? Where was it? Irie, thank you so much, man. You got me all corrected and taken care of here with the right answers and questions and all the corrections. And then we had some other guys there who brought up some really good stuff. So this is the new track. Sounds very 70s. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. A wonderful Monday. Lots of money. And be safe out there, guys. Because I had to look at the box to see what farm these fruits come from. Adam Buser, very good point. I'm going to start paying attention to that. James West, thank you for stopping by. Definitely watch the replay. If you guys get a chance as an outro, please hit the like button. That really helps the video get out there. Really do appreciate it. He said, what do you think the average rate is at the moment for your drivers overall? I'm going to look into that, Willie. I'm going to look into that. I know that it's over $2 for sure. That's right. Some 70s music for you guys. I'm going to look into that, but I can tell you that as of a week or two ago, our carriers were, I believe, 2 or 4 cents above our lease down owner operators. So the guys under dispatch, under their own MC authority, are running a little bit higher dollar per mile rate than the lease down owner operators. Outside of that, I'll get you the averages for our vans, our reefers, and our flatbeds. Thank you guys for stopping by. Awesome.